So, welcome to Chapter 12, The Why, hello there, almost 80 enemies! So, the end of Part 3 is the point where they really push the Wii to its limits regarding the number of units that could be on a map at any one time. Look at this, we have over 20 NPCs, almost 80 enemies, so we have over 100 units on the map at once. This is actually something that I really like about Radiant Dawn. I know a lot of people don't like this, but I love the sheer epic feel of some of the later maps. Because just look at this, look how many enemies there are on the map, it's insane! But thankfully, this is not a route chapter. This is just like 3.6, it's another semi-route chapter. We also have a ton of NPCs helping us, and if the Dawn Brigade is very weak, you'll need to rely on them. However, this is actually one of my least favourite chapters in the game, and there's really one main reason why. There's really only two things you need to do to win this chapter. Choke point here, and choke point here. Really, that's all you need to do. And because of that, this chapter is kind of mindless. I know that Alinthia's Gambit, you just need to choke point 2 areas too, but there, at least it takes you a little while to actually get to the choke points. While I'm playing this, I might as well mess around with my deployment a little bit. No Fiona and Meg, but everyone else I can will bring. So, yeah, I like Alinthia's Gambit a lot better, because there are at least also optional objectives to do, like getting the energy drops, stealing the Draco Shield, fighting Ludwig and getting his Tomahawk, whereas here, you're not even encouraged to go for the boss or anything. Speaking of which, I am an idiot. I was a complete moron in the last chapter. I said, oh, yeah, give your healing items to the Holy God, because they're gonna not use them. Yeah. Sigrun is the boss of this chapter, I totally forgot that, and that means that she has a whole ton of healing items that all of these enemies will just love to run back and steal. So, yeah, say goodbye to these 2 concoctions and this 1 vulnerary and probably that elixir as well. Also, Tanith is here. And she's 3rd tier. Thankfully, you don't need to fight her. You can easily just avoid that area. Yeah, the good news is that you don't need to fight Sigrun or Tanith at all here. They won't go for you. If you stay away from them, they won't bother you at all. So don't worry about them. I don't need to worry about getting hit by the kill skill. Or having to deal with the most awesome 3rd tier outfit in the entire game and dying of awesomeness. Also, Kirin is here. He's, I think, considered the leader of the Crimean Knights for this chapter. His strength depends on how well you've trained him. In my file, he's actually pretty strong. I don't know if enemies can use Gamble. I don't think they can, but it's at least something to think about, I guess. We also have some Pegasus Knights here, or Falcon Knights, and yeah, Leonardo can actually one-shot a few of them with his special bow, even untrained. They will try and fly up here and fight the NPCs. Speaking of the NPCs, I actually really want to put them on hold. The problem is that if I do that, the bishops won't be using their physics staffs to heal me, and I kind of like that. Because I actually want to get as much experience as possible from this chapter, because I'm going to need it. I'm really going to need it with what I plan to do in the next chapter. Because, yeah, normally you don't really need that much experience here, but in the next chapter you really, really, really do. Okay, then. Here is where we have a bit of a problem. Because I might want to put someone down there, but it's going to take a while for them to run in that direction. Should Aaron try and run over there? It's going to take him a while to get there. I kind of prefer to have Jill fly down here to sort of defend this area. Oh, by the way, let's just quickly go through the enemy equipment. Their equipment's not that great, it's mostly just steel weapons, which is good because the Dawn Brigade's a little weak at this point. Of course, the boss's equipment depends entirely on what you've given them. There are some silver weapons, but they're closer to the bosses, and generally speaking, you will not ever need to fight those enemies. Okay, there is a Killing Edge Swordmaster over there, and I do find that he does tend to reach you eventually. Yeah, this is pretty much fine. So, okay, yeah, I think I'll need these 2 to maybe dodge tank a little bit. I relied on them a lot on my hard file, but don't think I'll need that here. The decision is whether I send Aaron this way. It will take him a few turns, but he might reap a lot of experience over there, choke pointing with Taroniu. I guess I'll try that, and, yeah, Micaiah and Soth are stuck up here. I think I'll send them down here as well. Micaiah might try and fanny some things from behind. Because there aren't a lot of ranged attacks here. Yeah, not a lot of ranged attacks at all. So anyway, let's do this. Okay, we're back to this Dawn Brigade theme. I don't really mind this one. I'm going to order you to halt for now. I might change my tune later in the chapter, though. Yeah, I don't really mind this one. It's only Road of Sorrow that I kind of dislike. So I will say, I really love the aesthetic of this chapter, and I actually don't mind it from a story standpoint either, well, besides the whole Blood Pact reveal beforehand. I like the idea of you trying to make it look like you're obeying the Senate and delaying the enemy, but that actually causes a little bit of dissonance with the mission objective, but I'll go into that, Alright, I don't want to waste Collad Bulk here, but... yeah, let's just use the Killing Edge. And I also love the aesthetic of it, like the rain. I love Battles of the Rain. I actually love rain in general. Not really heavy torrential rain, but even in real life, it being a little bit cold and very lightly raining also, yes, SS rank on swords on Swordmasters, something that only males can get because rank sexism. Actually, no, I think it's because they plan to have Stefan playable in Part 1 instead of Seahawk. But anyway, I actually have to put... no, Torian can only go there, which means he'll have to deal with a soldier and things from below. This is why I wanted to refresh his javelins, by the way. Because usually Toronto spends this entire map staying here and javelining down on enemies. Jill can't quite get anywhere I want her to go. It's not entirely necessary that Jill gets a lot of experience here, because she's already pretty strong for me at this point. Okay, her weapons that aren't the Brave Axe have pretty low uses. I should have watched out for that. But, oh well. I doubt Volug and Zehawk are going to be doing much here, but I might as well leave them here just in case I need them. Sometimes I like to have Soth stay behind up the top part of the map, because sometimes he needs to fight a few Pegasus Knights, because they will be sending some Pegasus Knights up here to try and take out the Rock Droppers. And sometimes I need to use Leonardo for that. On my hard file, and I know I keep saying that, but these Wyvern Riders were actually pretty useful to me. And Aaron. You know what? I think I will actually send Aaron to help out Toronto. You could say, yeah, it's an enemy ambush. Also, you can actually see the Apostle's wagon there. Oh no, if they're telling General Ike, we need to be very careful here. And remember how I said that there was a downside to that fanfare? This is that downside. So, it does sound heroic when it's used by your army. Here, this fanfare just gives this massive sense of, oh crap, and 80s are officially cursed in this playthrough, it's confirmed. The Apostles' Army phase fanfare is terrifying when you're on the receiving end of it. Especially in 3.13, which, yeah. I'm alluding to 3.13 a lot, but... oh yeah, speaking of which, yeah, we have Time of Action as the enemy phase theme. That's what I really like about that song. It works as both a player phase battle theme and an enemy phase battle theme. Because it actually does sound really ominous to be on the receiving end of. I'm not really sure what you're doing. And, need I say it, but on my hard mode file, I think this guy spent the entire chapter standing here, attacking Toronto, and eventually repeatedly healing himself with vulneraries, or getting healed by priests. It was kind of silly. Okay, we actually have some snipers down there, which is not good. Oh, that's a ledge. I forgot that was a ledge. I almost never end up advancing that far into the map for obvious reasons. There's just an absolute Zerg rush of enemies down there. Okay then. Well, you can get doubled, at least. But I think Toronto needs to kill you now. Yeah, they will be setting more enemies down this side. That's why you didn't attack Edward. Thought there must have been a reason behind that. And that means that a Halberdier gets to attack Edward. Yeah, this still works as an enemy phase theme. Really? Well, I guess everyone is conflicted about having to fight the Apostles' Army. I'm just going to headcanon it as that. Missing an 88 and then a 90 in the same phase is pretty crazy, though. Edward, his glass cannon status really shows in this chapter, though. And that's why I gave him Paragon. I want to buff him up as quickly as I can, because he has his work cut out for him in 313, because I'm going to have him try and fight a certain someone. He needs his revenge after round 1 went against him, and that means, yeah. Also, I could really use a Heron right about now, but we're not going to be getting one. In fact, the Dawn Brigade never has a Heron in Part 3. I'd really like to have Micaiah fight something here, but instead I really need to heal Edward. In fact, let's go ahead and, I might actually want to break out the Tomahawk now. My hit rates are not great, though. I remember having a lot of problems with Biorhythm when I last played this chapter. Enemy Biorhythm specifically, but I guess... Wow, my hit rates are just doing terribly here, aren't they? Like I said, though, it probably makes sense, because everyone's really conflicted. This is a battle they don't want to take part in. So, I guess it fits. Edward could easily suffer death by awesomeness on the enemy phase if I'd use that. He might actually need the extra evasion Collad Bolt gives, although Collad Bolt's extra might also raise up the chance of him suffering death by awesomeness. And yeah, does not crit with Killing Edge, crits with Collad Bolt, obviously. So this chapter, much like the previous Dawn Brigade chapter in Part 3, is extremely experience-rich, and I do think that was very intentional, but it's actually part of the reason why I don't like this chapter very much. Really, this is one of those semi-route chapters where you have to kill 40 enemies, and it just automatically ends, and it's very simple. You just choke point down here and then choke point where Toronio is, and there's not really that much that can go wrong. So all this chapter really is a grinding session for the Dawn Brigade before 313, because obviously they need to be very powerful before 313, and I get that, but that's the thing. I feel like, couldn't they have just auto-leveled the Dawn Brigade? Really, there's not much reason for this chapter to exist. Gameplay-wise, they could have come up with something a lot better than just kill enemies. And in fact, like I was alluding to before, there's a major dissonance between the story and the gameplay here. Because here in the story, isn't the whole point to not be killing the enemies, to just make it look like you're obeying the Senate? But no, instead the objective is slaughter as many of the enemies as you can. This should have been more of a defend chapter, or even it could have been like an arrive chapter. It could have been a capture the Apostle, maybe. Like, rush your forces to the Apostle's wagon and capture her while inflicting as little bloodshed as possible. They even could have gone the route of, 2-3 and actually made every enemy left alive worth bonus experience. That actually would have been really interesting. Because again, that would have fit with the whole, oh boy, if I put them on halt, that guy's not going to attempt to defend himself, so I might want to actually put them on a void. So that's how I feel about this chapter overall. It could have been done a bit better. And as it stands, it just feels very pointless, purely from a gameplay standpoint. Story-wise, like I said, I actually really like the atmosphere of this chapter from a story standpoint. Gameplay-wise, though, they could have come up with something a lot better. Which is a bit of a disappointment, seeing as the other 2 Dawn Brigade chapters, and yes, there are only 3 Dawn Brigade chapters in Part 3, but I think 3-6, like I explained before, is a very well-designed map. They're all forming a line now! I've never seen them do that before. And I told you to avoid, and you instead went closer to the enemy and blocked off Aaron. Nice job. Hey, look, everyone, it's the Day in Conga line. But yeah, also, then there's 313. 313, I feel, is the absolute highlight of this game to me. I love 313 so much. Mainly for the potential for self-imposed challenges that it has. 313 is such a great chapter. It's one that a lot of people remember. And I'm really looking forward to 313. So yeah, considering how good and memorable I find 3-6 and 313, it's a little bit weird that the Dawn Brigade have such an unmemorable... Seriously, what is my luck today? But yeah, it's weird they have such an unmemorable chapter in between them. However, this is actually far from my least favorite chapter in the entire game. There are some chapters that I like a lot less than this one, and they mainly come in Part 4. Yeah, Part 4, before Endgame at least. Part 4 Endgame is great. I love Endgame. It's another one of the absolute highlights of the game to me. Also, that was a waste of 2 Collide Bulk uses. But yeah, Part 4 Endgame, I'm really looking forward to getting to Part 4 Endgame. I absolutely love Part 4 Endgame. But the other chapters in Part 4... that's about where the gameplay starts going a little bit downhill to me, at least the map design. But I'll explain that later. There's a couple of really, really bad route chapters in early Part 4. And mid Part 4. Like I said, it's really only late Part 4 that gets good again. So that's pretty much my rant out of the way. I can get 6% criticals, but I can't hit with 90s under true hits. At least not in this chapter. Yeah, there are a lot of people who think that maybe Radiant Dawn doesn't use true hit. I also like the fact there are both Bednion and Crimean knights in this chapter. That's kind of a cool touch. No, the video did not glitch. I was just stunned into silence by that happening. Yeah. That happening. Okay then, let's, go back to this, and, I guess I can use the hammer here. Getting to move Soth and, heal Nolan with Micaiah, even though I want to fight things with Micaiah, but oh well. But yeah, that... really? I don't even have any words. I just lost my ability to speak from that happening. Why? Okay, so you're on 1 HP, and I actually can use, because one actually cool thing about this chapter is, behind this boulder, you can actually use indirect attacks. However, oh, that's a Bronze Knight. There's no way Soth's gonna do any damage. Thought so. Right, I guess Z-Hark has to do something here. Well, he does enough, at least. And Adept. Because why not? That was without Paragon, but I guess that's because his level's so low. As for Edward, yeah, he's getting pretty good. My goal here is to cap Edward's skill and speed in this chapter, and then just bonus experience him straight into 3rd tier afterwards. Because I need him to be in 3rd tier next time. For round 2. Alright, Caladbolg's a little beaten up at this point. I think I'd rather get rid of the Lance users than the Axe users at this point. I don't want to be spamming the Brave Axe here. 8, 16, 24, that's not enough, okay. Guess I do have to kill the... or I can kill this guy. But I don't trust hit rates right now. In fact, at this point I don't really trust anything, so I'm going to use the Brave Axe. Having a double Earth support in this choke point also really helps. But yeah, I may end up needing to go on tangents because there's really not that much left to say about this map. It's really just choke point, get experience, which is why I don't really like it all that much. However, there are some Pegasus Knights up here that need to be dealt with, and in fact, Aaron might have to delay. In fact, he has to delay going down there anyway because he can't, because this guy decided to go there and actually make a more offensive move than he would have made if he was on halt, despite him being set to avoid the enemies. I'm not really surprised at this point. And at least I'm glad that I'm getting these high percent misses out of the way here, rather than in 313. Because in 313, misses can really kill you. Okay, I believe that's cap defense on Aaron. So I might actually be able to bonus experience you to 3rd tier soon as well. Yeah, in fact, about now, I can probably bonus experience you. You're going to be getting better stats through bonus experience at this point. And let me just show off how good this is. Yeah, 41, although that's a bad hit rate. And I think, yeah, Leonardo's going to die if he misses that. However, I can set the NPCs to roam, and then they'll definitely kill you before you have a chance to kill him, so... And that's Leonardo's best hit rate, too. Which, given my luck with hit rates in this chapter, is probably going to miss. Why am I not surprised? Okay, I have to set the NPCs to roam now. Because now they can be relied on to finish off that guy. This also means the 2 Wyvern Riders up here are probably going to enter the fray, and that's going to distract the enemies a little bit. Which is not great, because I prefer having people like Nolan and... okay, let me just check if there are any incoming ranged attacks. Okay, there is a sniper, but he won't be able to get to Micaiah, so that's fine. There is always the physics staff, but I like to save that. Because Micaiah's really going to be needing the physics staff soon. And by soon, I mean next chapter. A little bit of speed. I still can't believe that this Micaiah is speed screwed, even by Micaiah standards. Okay, do I advance Edward 1 space, or do I keep him where he is? Because if I keep him where he is, only one thing can attack him per turn, and considering that he has, Paragon, he doesn't really need to be killing much per turn. I think I'm going to just equip the... actually, he might not kill someone to do that. I'm going to do that for now, even though it's probably not the best idea. Thankfully, Benyon does not have any flyers around where Laura is. And yeah, the fact that we're fighting directly against the Apostles' army, one of the few times in Tellius that we actually fight Pegasus Knights. And Tyronia will continue to rain javelins down upon you. I think I'll just have Bold stay here. Now, I remember in my very first playthrough of Radiant Dawn, also doing this means that I might get some heals out of the bishops. Thank you for saving Leonardo's life. But that Pegasus Knight was dead anyway. There was no way the NPCs weren't killing that Pegasus Knight this turn. I'm gonna put you back on halt soon. Okay, I like how much smoother the rock animations are in this game. They don't pause every time the rock hits an enemy. Oh yeah, and that is one annoying thing about the NPCs, is they can actually quite easily block off that valley in places that you want to position people. So yeah, we are resorting to some pretty morally questionable tactics here. And you'll definitely see that at the end of the chapter. Really, the cutscenes before and after this chapter are the only interesting parts of it. The chapter itself is just... I mean, I'm not usually one to be this negative about maps in Radiant Dawn. I've said many times, I really like Radiant Dawn's gameplay much, much more than Path of Radiance. But this map, I just find kind of boring. Not to mention the ridiculously long enemy phases due to the sheer number of enemies, which, I mean, I'd normally be okay with if the enemy phases actually meant something, but most of the enemies in this chapter are not even anywhere near you. So, a lot of the enemy phase is wasted on enemies down here healing each other. And just running around doing nothing much. And this is why I didn't want the Wyvern Riders to go down here. Because the NPCs are now drawn to them instead of Edward and Nolan, who I desperately need to have experience. And yeah, I know that you get bonus experience at the end of the chapter based on the number of things you kill, but I know that all the experience you're getting goes into bonus experience, but I want actual experience on Edward and Nolan right now. And you're also incrementing the kill counter. Which, if you're speedrunning, is great, because it means that the chapter ends earlier. I'm pretty sure. I've even forgotten how this chapter went, and I've watched, I think, that speedrun of AGUQ about 5 times now, and I think I've forgotten how they handled this one. I'm guessing it was just donation time. Okay, the sniper is moving. Micaiah will need to stay back a bit, because I really, really don't want her to be hit by that sniper. That would not end well. Well, good to see that accuracy issues are affecting the NPCs as much as they're affecting me. And goodbye, random NPC Wyvern Lord, you will not be missed. You did not do a very good job here. See, only one thing's attacked Edward so far this chapter. Which might actually be a good thing due to, him being a bit of a glass cannon. I love Paragon, though. And yes, in Thrakia 776, you can potentially have double Paragon by playing on Paragon mode, which, of course, gives everyone Paragon, and then everyone who actually has the Paragon skill, it stacks. I've never actually played Thrakia on Paragon mode, though, or Elite mode, which is the Japanese name of Paragon. But I've never actually played it on that mode before. I didn't really find it all that necessary, because, again, I find that Thrakia's difficulty is a little bit overrated outside of a few very specific chapters. Now, I had actually a couple of tangents prepared here, and one of them I can probably go on now about the difficulty of various games in the series. How are we at? 25 enemies remaining. This is going to be a long chapter. Okay then. I'm probably... I want to actually kill you with someone ranged, because I would like Edward to attack things that are worth more experience. But I would also like Nolan to be using Airchecks. How are you doing in terms of experience? People have mentioned to me that I probably should be using that, the unit display window that shows experience. I don't know, I like to play the game on its default settings for the most part. One of the first times we're seeing a generic Crimean archer up close in battle models. Because back in Path of Radiance, every time we saw generic Crimeans, they were always NPCs, and thus we never actually got to see their battle models directly. Really? A generic fighter? It's the best you could send? In fact, I think now I might actually go for... No, I'll have Jill finish off a stronger enemy here. She might have... Interesting. She's actually losing attack speed from that. Normally, weapon weight is not a problem at all at this point in the game, but Jill got so strength screwed that she's actually being weighed down by something. But that tangent I was planning to go on was about difficulty. So I looked up, I wanted to see what fans of this series generally review. Yeah, I think I'll send Jill over there. What fans generally regard as the hardest games in this series. I'm actually going to go for some Storm Sword sniping. That's actually kind of a mouthful. It's time for Edward to get his store. Ugh! I really shouldn't be expecting anything more at this point, though. Yeah, like I was saying, difficulty. So, I wanted to see what fans of the series generally regard as the harder games at this point, and oh crap, yeah, this is actually why I like to keep Volug around here sometimes, because I have a problem. If this guy dies, my choke point is dead, so I actually need to send Volug down here and possibly half-shift him. Just a choke point, because I know this guy is dying on the enemy phase. I could heal him with Micaiah, but I'd much rather heal him with someone else. And obviously with that sniper here, why does it say you can't shoot there? If that guy dies, you can obviously shoot there, so I'm not going to pay attention to that. But, actually though, I could go for a double physic, which is maybe what I'll do. I'm going to go ahead and physic Edward, and then have Laura take Physic, and then Physic the Wyvern Rider. Also, direct Holtz. Pretty sure I need you all to Holtz. Yeah, I'm gonna put you all on Halt for now, and then Laura's gonna go ahead and take that. And heal you. Because then maybe you won't die. That's the problem with going on tangents. You sometimes get distracted by actual things you should be talking about, but like I said, I really want you to go for Aaron, but I highly doubt you'll go for Aaron. I was looking up, like, Fire Emblem difficulty tier list, and the main one that I found was one that I actually remember, but it's really, really old. It's on Serenade's Forest from 2010, so yeah, really, really old. And most of it I kind of agreed with, but one thing that I really, really, really didn't was it actually ranked... Okay, maybe I could put soft, although then the sniper could potentially critical him. I mean, the sniper could potentially crit anyone here, but don't really want it to. Although it will probably go for the Vault. If soft can counter, the sniper probably won't go for him, so I might as well do this. But it actually ranked Path of Radiance Hard Mode as one above Radiant Dawn Normal. At least English Normal. That is the difficulty that I'm playing right now. And seriously? Path of Radiance Hard Mode is a complete joke. A complete joke. And Radiant Dawn Normal, yes, it can be very easily cheaped out by spamming bonus experience on Har. But Path of Radiance can be easily cheaped out by spamming bonus experience on Titania and Marsha, and you can do that a lot earlier than you can break Radiant Dawn, actually. And plus, Radiant Dawn Hard Mode, the enemies are actually a threat. Like here, Edward could feasibly die this turn if I get really unlucky. The enemies remain a threat until endgame. The endgame bosses are actually a major threat if you don't play them right. The final boss actually requires quite a bit of strategy, whereas Path of Radiance Hard Mode, most of the later maps are just move forward and everything dies. And also, here's the other reason why I argue that Path of Radiance Hard Mode is way easier than Radiant Dawn Normal. In Path of Radiance Hard, you have Titania. Titania can carry you through 80% of the game. She doesn't start even remotely dropping off until the last few chapters, and even then she's still very good. And in the earlier chapters, she is disgustingly broken. And you have her for the entire game. Whereas in Radiant Dawn, there is no consistent Jagan. You have Soft for part 1, but he drops off hard in part 3. Yep, someone got critical, but thankfully it wasn't one of mine. You don't have... And you do have Har, and yes, Har can trivialize the game, but look, we don't have Har now. We have Jill, but she at least takes quite a bit of investment to make powerful. Titania is amazing off the bat, amazing throughout the entire game, has great growth rates. All in all, she just trivializes most of Path of Radiance even on hard mode, and I just don't see why anyone could consider Path of Radiance harder than Radiant Dawn Normal. Like, I admit, even at this point, Radiant Dawn Normal is far from the hardest thing in the world. Especially once people start third tiering. Once people start third tiering, they're basically gods, to borrow that critical role quote that I love saying. And the Grail Mercenaries chapters in Part 3, very, very easy. And the Dawn Brigade chapters in Part 3, I don't think are as hard as the hype makes them out to be. And finally, you're not losing attack speed from the Polak, which is good. But there is no way that it is easier than Path of Radiance Hard. Path of Radiance Hard is a complete joke. And I still think the fact that you have Titania, who is a consistent Oife, who is totally broken and trivializes most of the game from almost the very beginning to the very end. Again, thanks to the party switching system in Radiant Dawn, there is no consistent Oife like that in this game. Har is the closest thing you get, and he's not around for the Dawn Brigade chapters here. And again, you have Jill, but she doesn't start out that amazing. I figured you'd do that. Anyway, that's my rant over. But as for how I'd personally rank the Fire Emblems in terms of difficulty, I'd have to think. I still fully agree with that topic that says that Shadow Dragon Warp Skip is by far the easiest way to play the series. In fact, Aaron might actually have to. Yeah, the question is whether Aaron jumps down there and tries to short spear people, or whether... You know what? I think I'm actually going to have to roll you up and choke one of those Pegasus Knights. Usually, these snipers can take care of them if you set them to roam. In fact, I might actually set the NPCs to roam, although then these NPCs here might get annoying. But I think I'm going to send Aaron down here with Jarod's Spear. We're half using it against his own people, I guess. Well, not really, because Jarod wasn't exactly on the Apostle side in part 1. Okay, so now I have a problem. But if I finish off that guy, and here's why I would really, really like to have... You know what? I'm going to actually go ahead and physic... Let's physic Jill. So I'd actually like to have Micaiah attack something here, although how many things down here... That guy needs to go. I wonder if Jill whacks you if she'd actually be able to get where Volug is. I kind of doubt it. Well, no using Micaiah to attack that thing, then. That's unfortunate. There's cavalry there, but that does open up Micaiah to a sniper attack, unless I can get rid of the sniper. Actually, I really want that steel poleaxe. It will save me on money a little bit. That is terrible. Okay, then. You know what I think I will do? I'll actually retreat Volug a little bit. Actually, no, wait. No, Jill does have to kill that thing. Just in case there's a gap, I think I'll put Zihak here. But if the enemies come flooding through, Zihak is just going to die horribly. And Micaiah can now safe... Apparently Fanny doesn't reach through rock. Good to know. Well, that ruins that plan. But let's see if Jill can. That's a terrible hit rate. I might actually have to use the Brave Axe here. I'm likely to have to hammer on this later. There's really not that much among the Grail Mercenaries items that I want to hammer in, so might as well hammer in either Caladbolg, Tarvos, or Brave Weapons. Pretty much all Dawn Brigade items. I kind of figured that she wouldn't. That's actually really bad. Although I can pull back Nolan. Let's actually pull back Nolan. I was about to say that I want to save the Tomahawk for the next chapter, but I actually don't need to. I'll be spamming that crossbow for the majority of the next chapter, for reasons. Nolan hasn't been leveling up as much as I would like, and I can't believe he didn't miss with that 99. That would have just been the icing on top of this chapter, wouldn't it? I think at the moment we're kind of okay. Oh, Edward's in worse fire rhythm. If I have him equip Caladbolg, I risk breaking it, but it might be the best way for me to mitigate the biorhythm penalty. Pointless cancel. I'm probably going to be giving Edward Vantage back in 313. He definitely won't be needing Paragon there. But there's a reason why I want him to be as strong as he possibly can. In fact, he's still like... Actually, Edward and Nolan literally have the same level and same amount of experience. That's pretty funny. I kind of like Micaiah to fight some stuff down there, but I doubt that will happen. So I'm going to actually go ahead and go and swap Physic over. I don't really want to spam Physic on trivial amounts of HP. Now that I've traded, I can't actually move, so I guess I have no choice but to do this. We are slowly approaching the end of this chapter, and yeah, I think I'll leave these two behind. I said I was going to put the NPCs on Rome, wasn't I? Let's do that. Yeah, Soft can't throw daggers through that rock either. That makes sense, but you really should be able to use Fanny over that rock. And I think that should be fine for that turn. The other tangent that I could go on, I could probably explain it when we next see a mounted unit engaging in combat with their battle model. Hi there. Well, they're kind of being hero NPCs, but... Oh, I did not want you to do that. Now Edward and Nolan are totally blocked. Yeah, this is why I don't like putting them on Rome. At least that happens. And the sniper's probably going to shoot a Pegasus Knight. Yeah, this is why I don't like putting the NPCs on Rome, because they block off your characters from getting experience. Now, I hope some enemies down there are going to attack Aaron. Oh yeah, and then you can totally block off there, but the Pegasus Knights can fly, so it's not like that does much. Okay. I hope that sniper can actually... The sniper didn't even do anything?! Okay, so I put the NPCs on Rome for nothing, and now they blocked Edward and Nolan from leveling up. Great! I actually didn't want you to dodge, I actually want you to die. I really want you to die here. Well, I'd like to claim this steel poleaxe, but... I'm wasting a lot of brave axe on you, and I'm not going to kill you. We got to hear almost the entire song in just that battle. Yeah, my apologies if my commentary hasn't been that great for this chapter. I just don't have a lot to say about it. It's really kind of dull. Those NPCs, though, why'd they do that? I need Edward and Nolan to level up as much as possible. Because I'm going to be spamming... I'm going to be hopefully trying to third tier them with bonus experience in the next chapter. Yeah, that is 8 Brave Axe uses. Please die. There are not any ranged enemies, so this mage can't actually die. That's kind of what I was hoping you'd do, though. I mean, I suppose now that the horse-mounted units are actually attacking me, I can say, so that whole thing about the quote-unquote horse robe thingy that I kept referring to, that like, the name for it was right on the tip of my tongue, but I didn't know. Someone suggested barding. Barding is actually horse armor, but... and they actually said that because I think the Fire Emblem Wiki's article on Makalov called that thing barding, but that's actually wrong. But then again, the Fire Emblem Wiki is wrong about a lot of things. I finally found what the correct term for that was. It is... Why didn't you attack them? Yeah, it is why didn't you attack them? No. It is comparison. Sounds kind of like comparison, but not quite. But it's comparison. I knew there was a technical term for it, but... actually didn't know it was that. But yeah, that's what the robe that goes over war horses is called. Well, something got to attack Edward this turn at least. At least that means less Caladbog uses. Edward usually does a little better for me in this chapter, but this is not the worst thing in the world. Like I said, I kind of want you to cap at least speed, because then you're at the point where you get better stats on average but bonus experience. 14 enemies left. We still have a way to go. Okay, You're surrounded by NPCs. I don't think there's any other real way that I could. I can either tomahawk you with Nolan, but no, I'd rather tomahawk that guy. And yeah, if you're not training Edward, usually Z-Harp takes his place in this choke point, often with an A support with Nolan. So they pretty much pull off this exact strategy, just better because double Earth support. Nolan's getting some really solid level ups here, which is great. Is he capped anything yet? He's almost capped skill, and his speed is getting close to capped. His strength is still a little low for a warrior, but it's decent. I might as well get rid of the guy surrounded by NPCs. So now it is time for Edward to get his storm on. This area is looking a little bit unfortunate. Yeah, I didn't expect you guys to not kill those Pegasus Knights. But I think I will continue to have Aaron Javelin down here. Because ours will have to deal with a lot more. It's actually like, yeah, the weird thing is that this kind of setup would work well in a mission where you're trying to defend a specific point. Like, because if you don't choke point here, the enemies will come up this ledge and attack this area, but there's nothing to defend up here. Your entire army goes down into this valley, so it's, yeah, this map is very weirdly designed, I feel. It's definitely one of my least favorite maps in the game. But like I said, I really like the rain here. I didn't get to fully say what I was trying to say, but even in real life, one of my favorite weathers is it being a little bit cold and very lightly raining. I guess that's because Australia is usually very hot, but I like that, that weather, very light rain. And I like it when it's used for the right moments in, because yeah, the battle in the rain is a very common trope, but it's a common trope for a reason. It looks really cool and it's great for emotion. I'm not doing very well against you. I could go for this though. Probably going to have to Canto Jill away. Give me that poleaxe, though. Now I can afford to not waste a very, very strong poleaxe that I want to be saving for later. Although, I actually want to keep Jill down here a little bit, because she's very close to leveling up. And any level up on Jill is good for me. Yeah, see, despite the fact that this chapter is meant to level up the Dawn Brigade, I've only gained about 2 levels on everyone. And I'm almost done with the chapter. But usually, at least on normal mode, / Japanese hard, as I keep saying, but at least on this mode, usually... I don't think Kaya can really get to anyone at this point, but yeah, usually... This is about the point where the Dawn Brigade start to cap stats and start getting to the point where it is good to use bonus experience on them. I really don't want to use a use of Physic, but it's the only way Makai will be able to heal something. However, let's just go for Halt again, just because I don't want you guys being annoying. I don't want you potentially running out of a choke point and being dumb. And I think that's all I'll do this turn. Yeah, the enemy wastes a lot of their turns doing things like that, healing an enemy who's not going to be relevant at all. I'm semi-glad you did that. See, now you're running back to get healed. And nobody with range attacks attacked Aaron. Great. At least these enemy Pegasus Knights have very low defenses, so even the unpromoted NPCs do a decent job. Something that I was going to mention earlier, but I got distracted, is that in my very first playthrough of this game, I had, some people... Yeah, there is a legendary NPC in the next chapter who I personally don't find all that legendary. I knew that would hit me. At least I can't miss due to having a 100 hit rate. But he was never really that good for me. Who was good for me is, in my first playthrough, there was a halberdier in this chapter who crit multiple times. He didn't even have a killer lance. He was around the point where Aaron is now, and he crits so many enemies. It was amazing. So for me, it was the 312 halberdier, who was my hero NPC for my first playthrough. That's good because it saves the use of the sword. He did such a good job, and in fact, I don't think he died. And then in my hard mode playthrough most recently, I had a hero bishop in this chapter. Without him healing, I would not have survived down here, because obviously I was much lower leveled here thanks to hard mode's experience stifling. And I had to rely on Zhark and Volug to choke point. So yeah, I was a lot weaker at this point, so I needed to rely on the bishop's healing. And there was a bishop here who not only was amazing at healing, but in the very last turns, he threw himself right onto the front lines. He used his own body as a shield, and not only did he single-handedly... Should I really be surprised anymore? Not only did he single-handedly save the lives of, I think, Nolan and Edward, I think definitely Edward at one point, and I think also Zehawk, but he actually lived. He did not heroically sacrifice himself, he actually survived the map, which was really great. That was a great moment. So, that's why just a preemptive thing, I'll be talking about that in 3.13, but it's why I don't like a certain meme involving 3.13. Okay, now that missing I'm okay with. Because I feel, that missing I'm not okay with. I feel like players should be allowed to have their own hero NPC stories from this game. And restricting it to one specific NPC is not really fair. Now, I'm pretty sure nothing down there has any ranged weapons. So, it is safe for Laura to go down here, as long as I keep the NPCs on halt, otherwise that guy is definitely going to move and kill Laura. So, obviously, I don't want that to happen, because that would be really dumb. Speaking of my hard mode playthrough, I actually did have one run where, I was doing so well in 3.13, and then one NPC decided to move backward, and my entire defensive line collapsed, and I was on the back foot for the rest of that chapter. That was annoying. So, yeah, sometimes NPCs are smart in this game, sometimes they're really not. In this chapter, they're usually not. I kind of would rather have Aaron do this. He has to use the short spear for a very unreliable hit rate. And I might need to move Leonardo because you might be in range of him. My hit rates have just been terrible through this chapter. In fact, I think I might know the culprit. Because Micaiah... I want Aaron to level up once before this chapter is over, but I don't know if that'll happen. Let's see. 4 enemies left. Yeah, probably not. Micaiah still has no authority stars, despite being named the commander of the Dayan army by Peleus. And our enemy leader, I'm pretty sure... Oh, you don't have any authority stars. And I felt like you did, but no, you don't. So, really, there is no excuse for me missing so much. Speaking of authority stars, next chapter is going to be a pain in that department. You can probably guess why. Micaiah really should have gained authority stars after part 1. It doesn't really make sense that she doesn't have any. Yeah, she is the supreme commander of the Dayan army, and was given that title by Peleus and everything. It's the reason she promoted, and yet no authority stars. It's annoying. In fact, I might actually have to directly hunt you down now. Because I need to kill a few more things to end the chapter, and I don't think Aaron and Toroni will be able to do that on their own. That was to be expected. Okay, we're almost done here. In fact, Aaron should probably get rid of you. And he can do it with the Steel Lance, which is good. Yeah, he's going to be taking a lot of bonus experience in the next chapter, thanks to him capping a lot of stats right now. Once you bonus experience his speed up, that's when he starts to get fairly decent. I still prefer Nephany overall, because I like more speed on a Halberdier than more strength and defense. If I wanted high strength and defense in this game, I'd just use a general, because I really like generals in this one. But Aaron is still fairly decent. Yeah, like I said, I might need to directly hunt the enemies down here. 2 left. Might as well have Jill gain a tiny bit of experience here. In fact, let's just go ahead and have her use a Javelin and then have Edward finish this, because then Edward will probably level up and then Jill also levels up. I hope I'm going to have enough bonus experience to 3rd tier everyone in the Dawn Brigade that I need to be 3rd tier. Because preferably I want Aaron, Edward, Nolan, and Jill to all be 3rd tier next chapter, which probably won't happen, but I'll see if I have enough. Yeah, Jill is really going to, because now I can use bonus experience to fix her strength scourge, and then she'll become insanely strong. She should have a lot more strength than this by now, but anyway. I need to make sure that wherever Edward goes, Nolan is not far behind, because Edward, out of Nolan's support range, he really does need to dodge tank because his defenses are bad. Nice, exactly enough. And that's probably the last level up Edward will get this chapter. He did not cap skill or speed, though. But I think I'll still bonus experience him anyway. Wait a minute, let me check something. Yes, he is capped on HP, though. So he does have 2 stats capped. I normally don't need to hunt the enemies down like this, but doing it now. Haven't needed to use Tarvos on Nolan, which is very rare. Usually Tarvos helps a lot when you're choke pointing. And can little Micaiah do anything here? Doesn't really look like it. That's not enough. If Tori was doubling, this chapter would be over now. I think I'll keep it. But I feel like I'm not actually going to end this on this enemy phase, because the enemies are probably just going to heal themselves. Or at least these enemies are. At least, nobody seems to have stolen any of Sigourn's healing items. That's good. No, you healed that guy. Okay, then. Your logic is questionable. Actually, wait, your logic is not questionable, because... yeah, that's actually kind of bad. Because Aaron won't be able to double, so... I can't end this on my player phase. That was actually somewhat smart of you, because everyone else that I can kill is out of range. Actually, now that I'm getting down here, I need to watch out for Tanith, because she could be a very serious danger for me. However, provided that I... yeah, I can lure somebody here, so that's just gonna... that should end the chapter. And it'll end the moment that one enemy dies, so... doesn't really matter if I'm exposing too many people to danger here. Let's just hopefully end this. Yeah, if I put the enemies off of, on Rome, then that sniper probably would shoot the priest, and then I would have ended it last phase, but I'm pretty sure this chapter doesn't have a turn bonus anyway, so I could be wrong about that. Jill's gonna miss both of these, isn't she? Well, she hit one, but it wasn't enough. Okay, now that warrior down there. Please, Nolan, kill you. Yes, I'm doing enough, that's good. Except Nolan could miss, given my track record with this chapter. He did not, that is chapter over, good. Finally, 90s did not fail me. And that is end chapter. So now we have a very interesting cutscene here. This is actually another weird thing. Again, like, this chapter the gameplay doesn't feel like it matches the story, because weren't we in this exact position at the very beginning of the chapter? Why did we need to even bother with killing the enemies? Couldn't we have just done this plan right then? So, this is another reason why I feel like there was probably another Grail Mercenaries chapter planned for this point. Yep, we have to do whatever we're planning on doing quickly, because once Ike gets here, we're doomed. The animation of this I found is a bit weird. It always looked more like sand than what it's actually supposed to be depicting. To me, it doesn't look a lot like oil, but yeah, Micaiah's doing some very disturbing tactics here. However, in the extended script, they're a little bit less disturbing. Guess prioritizing the Apostle's safety at all costs. The shadows look a little bit awkward there. So yeah, they're only focusing on the Pegasus. They don't actually want to kill the Apostle. However, the Apostle's army had a counterplan. So, there's actually a nice little detail here in the extended script that I'm annoyed that was cut. In the extended script, Janeth is also here, and basically Janeth's ridiculously good eyesight becomes a plot point. Janeth is the one who's scouting for anyone shooting, and Janeth's like, believe me, I'll know if any of you even puts a finger on your bow. I like how everyone's looking at Micaiah like, seriously? So, this sequence is a little bit different in this version of the script. Ike is a lot more merciless in this one. In the extended script, Ike actually gives Micaiah a chance to negotiate, and is overall a lot, I guess for lack of a better word, nicer towards her. In the normal mode script, though, Ike is just like, surrender or die. I always found this scene really awkward in general because, like, she says that and it's very heartfelt, and then she just derpily rises straight up. It's, I don't know, this is just a weird chapter to me. So, yeah, they wouldn't actually kill one of your main characters. Oh, and by the way, yeah, you can see that was Ulki, so... And Janeth is right behind us. That's what a lot of people want to know. And now we're back to the Grail Mercenaries. So, the oil just injured the Pegasus Knights. Now, in the extended script, they specifically point out they did not fire the flaming arrows. So everyone who was down on the ground, it was actually fine. All Micaiah did was basically oil the Pegasi feathers so they wouldn't be able to fly. Wow, you certainly got here quickly. Hopefully with Nyla backing us up, we can end this much more quickly. Are you sure bringing the medallion here was a good idea? And that's really, really bad. And on that note, we cut to Dayan. This is what I was referring to. This scene is always there, even in the Japanese version. So, the thing about look for a way to end the Blood Pact that was added in the localization is not unfounded. As I thought, no turn bonus. So, as much as I don't really like that chapter, and as much as the whole Blood Pact thing is, yeah, I've already gone into that, I really like the way that chapter ends. They're really building up to the big finale of Part 3, and trust me when I say it's going to be big. I love all those moments at the end of this chapter. So, what solution has Peleus found to the Blood Pact? Why is Almeida in contact with Kurthnaga? What is Zelgius and Sephiron's plan? And will the Dark God awaken from the medallion? Find out next time.